What's going on, guys? It's Unchained here, and I'm playing Halo the Master Chief Collection. Yeah! Don't mind my congestion. I'm a little clogged up. I always get sinuses this time of year. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Master Chief Collection. I went through Halo 1 Anniversary on Legendary. That was a very miserable experience. I forgot how bad that game has, like, I don't want to say aged, because the gameplay is still spectacular, and the first-person shooting in general is still what we're used to today. There's just a lot of really dumb things about it, like the melees not homing in on enemies, and grenade chain reactions that blow you up from like 20 feet away, and the fact that it doesn't even have a rifle. It wasn't until Halo 2 you finally get this battle rifle, which is a godsend to be able to shoot things at range. Of course, Halo 1 made up for it by having that overpowered handgun. Now, there's one thing that's been going around the internet. It's been fluctuating some of the forums. I've experienced it, and as I've been reading reviews, it seems like the only website that's kind of touched on the performance of the Master Chief Collection is Digital Foundry, and I'm happy that they actually give their honest statistical analysis and their own personal opinions with the whole thing, because it's retarded. Like, I was reading another review earlier today, the GameSpot review of this, and they gave it a 6, and it just seemed like the only reason they gave it a 6 is because the multiplayer is non-functional, and that's just one of the many problems. The biggest issue with this is the performance. Like, I know YouTube now enables 60 frames a second video, so you guys might not actually see any of the judder that I'm about to talk about, but let me just mention, Halo 1 was really, really choppy, and the reason is, or at least my guess, was that it wasn't developed specifically for the Xbox One. I figured, it's probably just a lazy port. You know, they just ported it right over from 360, they didn't touch on anything, so it just runs like it essentially did on the 360, like crap. It was a little choppy. Honestly, though, when you look back, Halo 1 Anniversary still to this day looks gorgeous. It's not up to next-gen standards, per se, but for the 360 to render that, I'm actually pretty surprised that it pulled it together. Now, I'm disappointed to say, though, that the Xbox One rendition of that doesn't look any different. Just to reiterate real quick, yes, it does run exactly the same as it did on 360. Halo 2 is the star of the show here, and this is my first time through Halo 2 Anniversary, and I'm doing it on Legendary, which once again might be another miserable experience. I don't know. I know this one doesn't have health like in Halo 1, so your armor comes back quicker, but I also remember you taking a lot less hits. So I'm not sure how much trouble I'm going to have with this. If it gets to the point where I have to redo checkpoints 100 times, I'll most likely just start it over on, like, I don't know, maybe Heroic or something, and just do the Legendary playthrough later. Because God knows I only played Halo 2 a handful of times back in the day. I played multiplayer a lot, but Halo 1's campaign was where it was at for me. I played that one through so many times. For Halo 2, I don't know. I don't know if it was just because I wasn't a fan playing as the Arbiter, or I just didn't think the campaign was very memorable, like the locations you've gone to. I'm not sure. Honestly, Halo 1 is the only one that really, really sticks with me. But anyway, let's get back to talking about the Master Chief Collection in general. I'm very disappointed in the performance of this. It kind of sums up this generation of consoles in a nutshell. It just seems like every game that's been coming out has been, like, totally half-assed as far as the performance is concerned. Like, there's no reason why the Xbox One can't handle these graphics, and it's so fucking stupid. It's like, I know that it renders the new graphics engine and the old graphics engine at the same time, hence, like that. I can hit the back button and it switches. These are the old graphics. I know sometimes it's hard to tell because the old game actually does still look pretty good. But then you can also switch right back to the new graphics, which, holy shit, if it ran better, this would be fucking great. Halo 1 and Halo 2 suffer from a lot of judder, frame rate dips. The refresh rate can't hold up, especially on Halo 1. And it comes off as a very kind of jittery, if you will, experience. The graphics look really nice. It plays really well. The gameplay, at least in Halo 2, it's held up a little bit more to the first-person shooting standards than it does in Halo 1. I mean, it's gorgeous, and that's what bothers me so much. It looks so nice. It just runs so bad. Like, there's a lot of sections that in Halo 1's campaign, especially on, like, miserable levels like the library, where I literally would switch back to the old graphics just because it runs smoother. And it's like, come on, they could have tried a little bit harder to optimize the damn game. And here's my biggest criticism. If you're going to have a game that runs two engines parallel to each other, why didn't you just give the player the option to turn off the old graphics? Like, what if I wanted to just play with the new graphics engine and have it run better? And by the way, I'm not even going to bother touching on that last death I had. I threw a good grenade at him, slashed him with the sword, not good enough. Legendary mode thinks it's cute to have the enemies take twice as many hits and have you go down in like 2 bullets. I just wish it would make more sense to have difficulties where like the enemies were tougher, like there were harder or more armored enemies earlier in the game, or more enemies. Like, why does hard mode always have to mean that you die quick, or the enemy AI is like insanely accurate? It's like, I want to have trouble, but I don't want to sit behind a fucking wall taking cover the entire time. But whatever. I mean, Halo Legendary has always been like that. I'm honestly just doing it for achievements. I'm trying to get these campaigns out of the way so I can enjoy the multiplayer, which that's another one of the biggest reasons that this is a total tank. Like, or it tanked, rather. The whole game is just fucked. Like, the whole week the game came out. Now, this game came out on a Tuesday, just like most new games come out on. I literally, like, up until Thursday night, because I went to my girlfriend's house last weekend, up till Thursday night, I got in a whopping 3 games, and I probably tried for like an hour and a half, just in vain. I kept searching for new matches, hoping that it was going to get me in a match, and it just wasn't doing it. Apparently, their servers were overloaded, which it's really inexcusable. Like, this is I mean, I know Sunset Overdrive was a great game, but this is Microsoft's, like, only first-party game of the fall. The last one they had was Titanfall, and, I mean, just like every fucking game, you know, it had some problems, but for the most part, it was okay. But it's like, everybody wanted to play Halo. Did they not know that people are going to want to, like, bum rush Halo? It's like the only big multiplayer game of the fall. So, screw their Azure cloud servers. Basically, the dedicated servers are just out the window again. They weren't there for Advanced Warfare, and they continue to not be there for Halo Master Chief Collection. So I can't even comment on how Halo 2 Anniversary in the multiplayer is. I have no idea. I haven't played it. I played a few rounds of Halo 2 Classic because that's all I could get in, and my team just got, like, molested because the people that were playing clearly remembered Halo 2 too much. I mean, I have to get used to the games. One of the biggest inconsistencies about this is the fact that each Halo has its own gameplay style, and even the controls are a bit different in a way. Now, what I mean by that is, in Halo 1, you need to keep in mind that there's no rifle, alright? So your main method of taking down elites, especially in Legendary, is by using the noob combo. Now, in this game, you have to get used to the rifle now. Okay, now we're getting into battle rifles. Now the sword exists. Now there's lunging with melee attacks. Like, there's so many different gameplay inconsistencies. That's not really 343's fault. It's just because you're dealing with so many different games. Like, there's 4 different Halos with 4 different gameplay styles as it evolved throughout the years. So I guess that's really not a criticism. It's more of an adjustment that has to be made. It definitely makes the multiplayer feel a bit lopsided, because it's like, oh, I'm never gonna fucking be able to play these like multi-Halo map playlists because I'm never gonna be able to make the adjustment to which game I'm playing, and I'm gonna hit the wrong buttons, or I'm gonna, you know, forget I can dual wield in Halo 2, or I'm gonna remember that I, you know, can't use the pistol for shit in anything after Halo 1. Like, there's just a lot of things you gotta keep in mind with this. But, you know, I can look past that if it ran well and it felt like a complete package. Like, notice, like, the past few minutes, I've been playing with the old graphics. It's not because I want to, it's because it runs better. Like, if I'm going, you know, corner to corner against these halfway invincible elites, I want to make sure I'm playing with 60 frames. Now, here's the biggest shit kicker of the whole thing. Halo 3 and 4 didn't have any graphics updates. They essentially just had a resolution increase, and even those fluctuate frame rate. Now, we couldn't get frame rate up to the 50-60 range on the 360. That's, you know, that makes more sense because the 360 wasn't that powerful of a console. I gotta say, though, it did look really nice even back then, but I understand why it didn't hit 60 frames. That was just too much last generation. But is there any reason why they couldn't have managed to lock the frame rate on the Xbox One version? I mean, it's almost as if they barely did anything. I do have to say, though, I gotta give 343 credit. They remade cutscenes for Halo 2, and it looks ridiculous. Like, it looks a little bit better than Halo Wars cutscenes, if you guys remember what they look like. it's very cinematic and it looks really nice. The only problem is when you go to hit the back button, the button that transitions between the old and new graphics, you actually can't do a side-by-side comparison. They both run alongside each other, but they run at different seconds and different frames. So let's say you're at, like, I don't know, the part where a ship is flying into the, I don't know, a planet or something. Then you hit the back button because you want to see what it looked like back then. It'll be at, like, a completely different part of the cutscene because it's almost like they're not in sync with each other. So it's almost better to just either stick with the new one or the old one. Otherwise, you're going to lose track of where the hell you were in the first place. And that's disappointing because half the fun of seeing new graphics is to be able to compare them side by side or instantaneously like you can do with the gameplay, like now. One of my favorite things to do is play with the old graphics for a while and then switch back to the new ones. And then you kind of get that, that your eyes almost have to adjust to it. And it's like, whoa, this looks nice. But then once you get used to it, you don't really feel that awe-inspiring, like, oh man, this looks nice. Then you just gotta keep switching back and forth to get the same effect. But yeah, overall, would you buy this? I mean, I didn't really market this on my YouTube channel as a should you buy video, or market, I'm a fucking idiot, advertise it as a should you buy vid. It was more like an informative video because I knew that I mean, obviously, a lot of people on Microsoft's side are going to be fans of Halo. I know I'm a fan of Halo. This was a no-brainer purchase for me. Had I known the freaking frame rate was going to be this bad, I might have actually considered waiting for the price to go down on it. I'll give this room one more try. But, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like they were trying so hard to get so many things on the disc at once that they just half-assed everything. Like, there was actually a really huge install for this. It was about 50 gigs, I believe, for the disc. And then there was, like, some update that was another, like, 20 gigs. The game literally took me, like, 3 hours to install. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I took a shower, I ate a meal, I played other games on other consoles, and it just still was going. So the install time for this game is just atrocious. So honestly, it would have been better if you wanted to get the digital copy and just, preload the damn thing, because it just took so long. But, I mean, it is worth it. There is a lot on here. It's very kind of confusing to get used to the different gameplay styles going on, because you are spanning 4 different Halo games. I started from Halo 1, and it just put a bad taste in my mouth after seeing how bad the performance was. Now, I don't want to keep stressing that, because it's not a bad game, and honestly, so far, at least, Halo 2 looks just as gorgeous as Halo 1 did when I first saw the anniversary on that, on the 360, but it's just, I don't know, to me it's inexcusable, and it kind of just foreshadows all this generation has been, just half-assed releases. So I'm hoping that they might patch some of this, maybe give you the option to single out certain graphics engines so the game runs better. Because, I mean, I want to play with the new graphics. I just want to feel like I'm getting at least close to 60 frames. Sometimes I feel like it jumps to 40. But, so yeah, I just wanted to give my opinions on that. This hasn't been the best launch. I'm about to try the multiplayer again later. I can't comment on it. This is the current status of how it is. Today's November 17th, so I'm not sure if today it runs better. But it's stupid. Like, I shouldn't have to, flip a coin to see if my multiplayer is going to work. I mean, I'll give Call of Duty one thing. Okay, it kind of bites that it releases every year, but at least the multiplayer works. I know it has some lag problems here and there, but at least I can play it. I haven't even been able to enjoy this multiplayer, and I've had the game for almost a week. So, I mean, I really hope that developers get their acts together. It just seems like they release games just, with the hopes of patching them later. Back in the 90s, we didn't have to deal with that shit. Developers put games out, and you essentially knew that they were going to be good, because the developers knew that once the game was on the shelf, that was what was going to be there. They had no opportunity to take it back and fix it. These days, I feel like everything gets fucking, pushed out quick, because, of annual release schedules, and then they just, they don't even fix it. I mean, it's just slow, and it's tedious, and you get a broken experience, and it's just not fun. So I'm probably going to have to lower the difficulty, because I'm not enjoying emptying about 3 clips into each elite and dying in, 2 bullets. But don't mind me having to run through that same hangar about 10 times. I'm sure I'll have to run through another 10 times before I fucking complete it. But I just wanted to make this video to let you know what you're getting into, because a lot of reviewers haven't mentioned the performance. It's not smooth. So that's all I'm going to say. If you're sensitive to judder or bad refresh rates, then you'll definitely notice some performance problems with this game. I didn't think I was sensitive to it until I played this myself. I know there's other games this gen that have released that have had performance problems, like The Evil Within and Alien Isolation has a little bit of, anti-aliasing problems. But I notice things like that. I guess I'm pretty sensitive to it. So yeah, should you buy this game? Possibly not until they decide to patch it, because right now it's just kind of all over the place. It just sucks because it would have been nice to have a good little Halo collection that felt uniform, but instead it's just like a mess.